Privacy threats online can move so fast, it's hard to even know the dangers we face. Is the risk too big to manage in a hyper-connected world? Or can one private company build the tools to overcome its most powerful digital adversaries?
We know that cybersecurity is back in style on the Wall Street fashion show right now. But what does the future of this industry look like? Given all the stories about Russian interference in the election, it might be that we need to worry less about lone wolf hackers, more about rival nations. Which brings me to Endgame, a privately held cybersecurity company that uses advanced machine learning to help guard your data against highly skilled nation-state level adversaries. For example, their tools perhaps could have stopped the hack of the Democratic National Committee last summer. Endgame's platform is designed to prevent new attacks and stop the damage from old ones. And so far, this company's had some tremendous success. So let's check in with Nate Fick, the CEO of Endgame, to learn more about his company and the future of the cybersecurity space. Nate, why do some call you the Van Helsing of cybersecurity?
That was some coverage after we signed a big partnership with Accenture to bring the Endgame platform to market at the heart of an Accenture-managed hunting service.
But that makes it sound like that you guys play offense, not just defense.
Well, we don't play offense in the sense of a hacking back,
right.
But we're trying to level the playing field against some very sophisticated actors, and that means understanding how they operate.
Now, a sophisticated actor, we have now seen, this is not just guys flapping out guys. We've seen Russia involved. We've seen countries with vast resources. I often feel like that we're willing to stop, say, people dumping on us from materials, but we don't seem to do anything when countries dump on us.
So this is a remarkable thing. I mean, if we're going to talk about a policy point, there's a real deterrence failure in cybersecurity. The Russians interfered in the U.S. election via cyber means because if they'd done it by sending agents into our polling places, we would have responded.
Right.
And our adversaries know that we aren't organized to respond yet digitally.
Right. Now, for a company that hires Endgame, why would they bring you in instead of FireEye, Symantec, Palo Alto, or are you complementary to those?
A lot of good companies in the cyberspace.
Yeah.
Our view of the world is that the data that most companies care about is resident on their endpoints. It sits on the laptops and the desktops and servers across their company. And Endgame is an endpoint protection platform that stops attackers from getting at that data. And we do it by unifying prevention, detection, response, and automated hunting in one product. And that's a differentiator for us.
Okay, so for the Air Force, how does that work? Because that's a very big and important contract, I'm sure.
So there's a misconception out there that the government is somehow behind in cybersecurity. In fact, there are parts of the government that are really out there on the vanguard.
Really?
And the Air Force is one of them. The Air Force is very sophisticated from a cybersecurity standpoint, and we're proud to support them. We equip all of the Air Force cyber protection teams. They're hunters who go out across the Air Force network and hunt very proactively and aggressively to identify and then root out resident attackers.
Now, I know it's hard to be hindsight, but if you had been working on the DNC account, do you think that you could have come up with something?
So all of our testing afterwards suggests that we could have, but of course we weren't deployed there when it happened.
Right.
But one of the features of the Endgame platform is you can drop us into an environment after an attack has already taken place, and we can detect it immediately.
Okay, we're big fans of Accenture on the show. Accenture could have picked anybody. Why'd they pick you?
It's a good question, and they made clear during the selection process that they were looking at many others.
Sure.
They have a worldview that aligns with ours, which is this market is highly fragmented. There are 1,500 companies, and increasingly, chief executives and boards are looking for a trusted advisor to help them integrate different cyber capability. And one of the differentiators in Accenture's security offering is this managed hunting offering. And we have a best-of-breed hunt capability inside our endpoint platform.
Now, I had read your book beforehand. I knew you from One Bullet Away, and your service with the Marines. But how much does? Can you just speak about the leadership qualities that the Marines imparted to you and what they mean for Endgame?
The Marine Corps is a values-driven organization. And I've tried to ensure that Endgame, too, is a values-driven organization. We literally carry our values around in our pockets. And having that mission focus is what helps us get the right people orient them the right way, and then turn them loose to do their work without too much oversight.
Have you had luck recruiting veterans? Because I know the Air Force must want to see that. And I know that the training, we've had cadets here that clearly have more knowledge about cyber threats than you would get from a liberal arts college.
Veterans are overrepresented at Endgame by a factor of 3 or 4. And really what we're doing is bringing together 4 different skill sets. We need the veterans, typically, who come out of places like the Air Force or the NSA, who have a very granular understanding of the attacker. And then we have to combine that with the enterprise software developers who can build and ship stable, scalable software, combine those with data scientists who can help us parse signal from noise, and then user experience designers who can build products that you don't need a Carnegie Mellon PhD to use.
Well, no, would that crew be able to handle, say, a North Korean hack, where it's a very blurred line? I mean, we don't know who's really on the other end of a North Korean hack, but they obviously want our money.
Attribution is hard in this space, right? You
right?
bounce an attack through a bunch of obfuscated servers across 4 continents, and it gets hard. And what we find is most of our commercial customers don't really care where the attack came from. They just want to stop it.
Are banks under spending on this area?
Look, I think you can spend a lot of money and not materially increase your security. And one of the shifts that has to happen is a move by boards from a risk-averse approach to cybersecurity, which basically results in buy one of everything.
Yes, that's exactly what I see people doing.
To a value-based approach. Cyber risk is an enterprise risk. Incorporate it into an overall enterprise risk management framework and make a value-based decision about where you should spend.
Okay, because what I'm trying to worry about is I'm concerned that the U.S. government, now you said the military is sophisticated, but the U.S. government, we've just had this big transition. I have to imagine that there are jobs that are open, that we're not ready, that we have to fill these positions rather rapidly, that there's holdovers. I mean, this is an area where it's not like a lot of other parts of the government where it's okay if we don't have anyone running it.
One of the things I learned in the military is that moments of transition are your greatest opportunity and your greatest threat. It's that point where you're going through the door. And the same is true in a government transition. There's a moment here where we could begin to do some things differently, and that's an immense opportunity. But as long as key jobs aren't filled, there's a risk.
All right. Well, look, I never want to leave it on a note that is risk, but I find when it's cybersecurity, I can never feel secure because it's wrong to do so. Okay, that's Nate Fick. He's the CEO of Endgame, a fascinating story. It's a private company doing a lot of great things. Mad Money's back in for the break. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.